just a reminder that going no contact with somebody or people, family members, friends, because they voted for Trump and against your rights and your freedoms, in my opinion, is one of the ultimate forms of self-care. That's about it. Like, if someone wants you to have less rights and freedoms, then how the f*** is that? How is that person your family member?
Hello everybody, how are you doing today? And we have a Matt Walsh video here. He is going to be going over how some are counseling Kamala voters to not be with their families on the holidays or to cut them off entirely as a means of coping. This, of course, is insidious. This is stuff that the left does. You keep hearing me say this, but it is a point of Marxism to destroy the family. That pretty much is it. Marxism, leftism wants the state to be the central authority, and to do that, it must destroy the nuclear family. The nuclear family is anathema to the left. And if you're the result of a public school education, you don't know what anathema means. It means they don't like it.
As we discussed during this segment last week, the left has tried different coping mechanisms in response to Kamala's humiliating defeat on Tuesday. They've tried screaming hysterically in their cars. They've tried swearing off all sexual relations with men. They've tried shaving their heads. They've tried therapeutic coloring books. None of that seems to have assuaged their anguish. And now they're...
If you do like this content and any other things that I do, please do me a favor, hit that subscribe button. It does help with the algorithm, and it does help me get the word out. Thank you all very much.
We're trying a new strategy. Kamala voters on TV and in social media have declared that the only path forward is to cut off all contact with friends and family members who voted for Trump. A child psychiatrist from Yale made this exact recommendation on MSNBC.
Are people challenged with the idea of how do you interact with people who you know voted for this, right? If you are an LGBTQ person and you know someone in your family voted essentially against your rights, or you're a woman knowing that, you know, this man was calling people the B word, J.D. Vance was literally calling Kamala Harris the trash and said, we're going to take out the trash. I know a lot of black women were incredibly triggered by that. And if you then meet somebody and you know they voted for the people who called you trash, or if you're Puerto Rican, you know someone voted that way, do you recommend, just from a psychological standpoint, being around them? We got the holidays coming up.
So I love that you asked this question because, you know, there is a push, I think just a societal norm that if somebody is your family, that they are entitled to your time. And I think the answer is absolutely not. So if you are going into a situation where you have family members, where you have close friends who you know have voted in ways that are against you, like what you said, against your livelihood, and it's completely fine to not be around those people and to tell them why, you know, to say, I have a problem with the way that you voted because it went against my very livelihood and I'm not going to be around you this holiday. I need to take some space for me.
So Joy Reid wants to know how someone is supposed to interact with a family member who voted differently. This is the kind of question you only ask if you have the maturity and intelligence of a brain-damaged lizard. But for normal people, it's not confusing or difficult. You interact with your family members by speaking to them. I'd recommend starting with hello, or, you know, a similar greeting. If you want to avoid talking politics with them, that's fine. I personally enjoy debating politics with my family, although we agree on the fundamentals. Isn't it? I don't have any Kamala voters in my family. But, you know, if you don't want to debate it, you don't have to. Your family is still your family. But that's not what this Yale psychiatrist says. According to her, your family is only your family if they agree with you politically. This is the kind of insight we can expect from Ivy League mental health experts. She is recommending isolation, alienation, and the severing of support systems. Okay, that's what a psychiatrist is recommending to people who are already obviously mentally unstable.
It brings them under the care of the state. You see how this works?
Which is like a cardiologist advising someone to elevate their cholesterol levels to like 300. I mean, it's the opposite of what you're supposed to be telling people to do, obviously. And if you're wondering why I'm extremely skeptical of the psychiatry profession, well, This woman is exhibit 1 million, approximately. A lot of people seem to have taken her advice, however. Here's a guy on TikTok giving his followers some self-care tips in the wake of the election results.
Well, good afternoon, you beautiful. Just a reminder that going no contact with somebody or people, family members, friends, because they voted for Trump and against your rights and your freedoms, in my opinion, is one of the ultimate forms of self-care. That's about it. Like, if someone wants you to have less rights and freedoms, then how the f*** is that? How is that person your family member or a friend? Why would you want to spend Thanksgiving with them? Why would you want to buy them gifts? Like, if they don't give a f*** about your rights and freedoms, then how the f*** do they give a f*** about you? That's it.
So some incredible wisdom. If they don't give an F about your rights and freedoms, then how the F do they give an F about you? I think he was quoting Aristotle there. Never mind the fact that none of these people can possibly explain which of their rights are threatened by Trump. What right specifically has Trump promised to end?
Hey, listen in the comments. If you know what right Trump has threatened to end, please, by all means, let me know.
Which right? Now, they can't answer that. They can't even begin to answer it. That ultimately is why they want to cut off contact with their Trump-supporting family members. It's not that those family members are rude or abusive to them. It's that those family members may ask them to explain their political position, which is something they absolutely cannot do, and they know they can't do it. That explains this post from somebody named Derek over on X. He wrote, quote, "I have cut ties with my MAGA father and sister. I will never, ever speak to them again. I will spit on their graves. If you still hang out with your friends or family that votes for fascism, you need a long look in the mirror." Yes, Derek says that if you are not spitting on the graves of your own family, you need to take a long look in the mirror. You need to stop and consider what went wrong in your life that you aren't disowning your family and spitting on their graves. That's what all the cool kids are doing. That's what all the totally well-adjusted and normal human beings are doing. I think the point has been made, but I will only reiterate that Derek here cannot explain how Trump is a fascist or what fascism is or why he's opposed to it, whatever it is. He has no clue. And he certainly doesn't want to be asked that question at Thanksgiving. He'd rather betray his own blood, stab them in the back, than have his own intellectual vacuousness exposed. Unfortunately for Derek, a little too late for that. We haven't even gotten to the worst example yet. Here's a Kamala voter attacking her own children for disagreeing with her dumb political views.
So here's a problem that I have dealing with my MAGA sons. They get very, very offended if I say that I think that they are ignorant to some things because of their support for this rapist and felon. But here's the thing. I have two choices when I try to understand why they would support an abhorrent human that goes against every value I try to instill in them. Here's my two choices. I can believe that you are ignorant, or I can believe that you are evil. Ignorant is the kinder choice.
So just to review, this horrific witch of a woman decided to...
Just to say this, okay, I have said this before, I'm going to keep saying it again, okay? If you are a leftist, that is the most important thing to you, okay? To a leftist, their political ideals are the most important thing to them. It overcomes their religion. It overcomes their old sense of self and being is of the left, okay? That is how this stuff happens.
Make a TikTok video publicly accusing her own sons of either being ignorant or evil because they voted for someone she doesn't like. And what are they ignorant of? What information do you have, lady, about Trump that they don't have? Can you enlighten them? Can you share these salient details with them? I'm sure you've tried, but the problem is that you believe a bunch of nonsense that you heard from MSNBC. and your sons are too respectful to inform you that you are a pretentious dimwit with your head stuck up your ass. Unfortunately, you aren't my mom, so I can say that to you. They won't say it, I'm guessing, because they care about their family, which is more than I can say about you. Now, let me end this with just one last thought for any leftist considering cutting off contact with family members who committed the sin of having a mind and opinions of their own. You're free to make that choice, of course, but if you do, please don't bother us a few years from now with some tearful follow-up video crying about how lonely and sad you are. Okay? Please don't do that. Because none of us will have any sympathy for you. None of us will care. You know what? Actually, we'll laugh in your face. We will laugh at your pain right in your face. Because you're choosing it. You are choosing to be isolated and alone. I mean, that woman in that video, she's going to die alone. Her family's going to hate her. She's going to be in a nursing home, just dying alone with no one to even visit her. And if they do, they're going to do so begrudgingly because they don't want to spend any time with her. And she's going to be really sad about that. But you know what? I don't care. Your pain means nothing. You deserve it. To return from a theme from last week, that's justice. You deserve that. You are disowning and disavowing the only people who love and care about you unconditionally. Now, for most of the people in these videos and most of these leftist types who would want to disown their families, like, the rest of us don't want to be around you or talk to you or even get to know you because you're incredibly unpleasant and insufferable. Going back to that woman in the video, like no other person in the world, I guarantee no one wants to be around that woman. She has no real friends. Either friends that she has hate her guts and talk about her behind her back. No one wants to be around a person like that. No way. You do have a family though. And your family loves you anyway. Right? If you push them away, you'll be left with no one. You'll be miserable and alone and alienated from the only people who ever cared about you or wanted to be around you. And you'll deserve it. But hey, at least you'll have made a statement about Trump.
And there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. The left is counseling its believers and its followers to cut off their family members who voted for Trump as the ultimate act of self-care. It is a wild, wild, and very, very sick and sad world. And that was my phone going off. Sorry about that. Anyway, so thank you all for joining me today, folks. Send in those comments. I have dearly loved all of them. And yes, I will answer my comments at some point in time when I can actually sit down and get to them. Thank you all for sending them. Keep sending them to me. Thank you. Hit those like buttons. And as again, always subscribe, please. Thank you all very much. Later.